A very warm welcome to our main news bulletin at 19:30 on Camnet TV. Let's look at some of the top stories. Government urged to resolve fuel shortages. BOWMAN LUSAMBO cries foul over the establishment of fast-track courts. Police officers involved in human trafficking and smuggling cautioned. In our international headlines, Somalia summit vows final push against AL-SHABAAB. And in our sports headlines, Zambia under-20 national team arrives in Abuja to kickstart West African assignment. We have the details after this message.
On Monday, 16th February 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guest, Ambassador Anton Mukwita.
Country which is 750,000 square kilometers, about 2 million of that land in hectareage is arable. We also have one of the biggest resources needed for agriculture. That is 60% of the water in the southern African region is in Zambia.
As they discuss Zambia's 2023 governance issues.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On DSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
To present the main news, my name is Louisiana Lupumbwe. Mumbwa District Commissioner Namkolo Hayumbu is impressed that the Zambia National Services is working around the clock to meet the 14 days ultimatum given by government to complete the works at Chiwena Bridge. Speaking when she toured the bridge, which had its culverts partially washed away in Mumbwa District, Mrs. Hayumbu says soon the people in the area will have a reliable crossing point. And Zambia National Service Supervisor on site, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Zulu, said the works are progressing well. We have more in this report.
These are the Zambia National Service engineers on site, erecting a temporary acro bridge at Chiwena, which was highly damaged by heavy rains in Mumbwa District of Central Province. District Commissioner Namkolo Hayumbu has toured the site to appreciate the works.
The people of Chiwena and Mumbwa as a whole have got a crossing point. The works so far, they have really advanced, and we have people on site 24/7. They are also camping here. And the people, may I appeal to our community members that the government is on site and it wants to make sure that our people are served better. Hence, their quick response to this challenge the people of Mumbwa are facing because of the Chiwena Bridge, which was washed away.
Lieutenant Colonel Peter Zulu is the Zambia National Service Site Supervisor who has assured government to finish up the works on schedule.
Done. We're almost halfway done because where I'm standing here, as you can see from the background, this is where the area was washed away. Now the work has been hampered because of the rains. But like today, if the weather continues to be like this, we'll push the bridge to almost over halfway. On the works that are remaining, we are trying to keep to the 14 days ultimatum. Otherwise, we are almost halfway doing the bridge. So far, we are just halfway again doing the transforms for the main bridge, because where I'm standing here is a launching nose of the 700 XS Acro Bridge.
For the residents, government's effort has greatly been commended.
So at least manje ba government mwe bali kupangira bridge kuchitika zikulosa bwino tikazienda bwino, at least kuchitika ulo kwa nkalamaliro bantu bachitonyamula mu manja nga tachoka kumumbwa uku bakafika hapa bachitomunyamula ku manja futi kuchoka ku bapala na motoka ina ngufu futi banyamula na manja kuenda kusite kuchiba motoka ina ya kuchiba imbelemu. So at least hapa mwa mbo bangira manje ikasira tizamjera bwino olomwe bayambira tezera bwino katiziwa kutika sira zambo yenda chikuno kuchoka kuyo yenda wa
but maana taboma bridge takayokondura kamba kuti nika number 2 bridge kwani baba fesa lapo la konza paje nebo ya gomo tebele nebo ya gomo gratu west So hapa ndio nitaona boma penalika so kuleta vinsimbi at least iko na chani iko na umoyo wa msogoro.
Matias Chewe, Camnet TV News, Mumbwa.
Bus drivers in Lusaka have urged the Ministry of Energy to investigate the fuel shortage in some parts of the city, stating that this is negatively affecting their business. A check by Camnet News found some drivers with empty containers trying to source the commodity, stating that they had been unsuccessful at some filling stations. This is despite the Ministry of Energy stating that the country has adequate stock of fuel to last up to 2 weeks. More in this report.
While the topic of increased fuel prices by an average of 2.50 ngwe is still hot, some bus drivers in Lusaka say the city has been hit by a fuel shortage, which has led to their businesses slowing down. Camnet News caught up with some bus drivers at Mutendere Market who were carrying empty containers trying to find the commodity after being unsuccessful at several filling stations within the area. The drivers state that the fuel shortage has hit them hard, adding that the business has already been unprofitable due to the high exchange rate of the kwacha to the United States dollar.
So maona mame so jentinga pepeko pa mashoteje jaya na tewambire tivutikiramu munga isema conductors na drivers tivutikiramu bopezeka cashing esikwa maona mame
wenda taikia ku kilometer so kuliko nipende kwenda kuwa ku kilometers chokela ukonje kulibe
the drivers have challenged the Ministry of Energy to urgently investigate the situation and ensure that normalcy is restored.
If you shortage, you don't get a business. Otherwise, every time Mbula check a lot. But what saying, you know what I mean? But it's fine, and my fuel shortage is because I bring my fuel. My motor is just a packing. All my buses in Lusaka. I'm really freedom way to the Shangri-La quarantines. Every doctor's got police. Tell me, President, watching the Ramat 19 hours, been like my choice to second those stories of one day in the future. So my fuel should when you want to join on your packing up and then the fuel, that's like the fuel, I think
This is the situation that we found on the ground, despite information from the Ministry of Energy that the country currently has enough fuel stock to last up to 2 weeks. We will continue reaching out to the Ministry of Energy over the current situation, as calls made to Minister of Energy Peter Kapala have been going unanswered for 2 days, while messages seeking answers on the same have not yet been responded to. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Former Kawishi Constituency Member of Parliament, BOWMAN LUSAMBO, has petitioned the government in the Constitutional Court over the decision by the Chief Justice to set up a fast-track court. Mr. LUSAMBO charges that the Chief Justice Mumba Malila has breached the constitutional provision for setting up the Specialized Economic Financial Crimes Court that is meant to help quickly recover public stolen assets. Mr. LUSAMBO, who has cited the Attorney General, claims that the establishment of the said court was meant to target a group of individuals. Miriam Kayemba filed this report.
In 2022, the country's Chief Justice Mumba Malila signed a statutory instrument for the creation of an Economic and Financial Crimes Court. The establishment of this specialized fast-track court by the judiciary is meant to help expeditiously recover public stolen assets. However, the establishment of this court seemed not to have sat well with the former Kawishi area Member of Parliament, BOWMAN LUSAMBO, who was rushed to the Constitutional Court, stating that the decision by the Chief Justice to set it up is unconstitutional and illegal. According to his petition against the state, Mr. LUSAMBO charges that the move by the Chief Justice to set up the Economic and Financial Crimes Court administratively at the subordinate court is in breach of Article 121(4) of the Constitution. The former Lusaka Province Minister, who is facing corruption allegations before the Lusaka Magistrate and is being tried under the said specialized court, claims its creation targets a group of individuals, especially those from the previous administration. Mr. LUSAMBO, who has cited the Attorney General in his petition, as the respondent states that President Hakainde Hichilema had made a public announcement about him being guilty because he served during the previous administration. He adds that the act of making public announcement as to the guilt of him being from the previous administration, then trying to sanitize the process by taking him through trial with the intention of convicting him in an arranged way, is in contravention of Article 8 of the Constitution. He also claims that the move by the Judicial Service Commission to transfer 10 magistrates using Section 6E of the Judicial Service Commission Act contravenes Article 122 of the Constitution. Mr. Lusambo has further told the court in his submission that establishment of the said fast-track court at the subordinate court has been made administratively, while in the High Court and the instrument that sets it up does not state the composition of the court. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Former Konkola Copper Mines Provisional Liquidator Milingo Lungu has asked the Constitutional Court to dismiss a notice of motion filed by the state, alleging that his petition is a waste of court time on the grounds that his immunity was revoked by the current Director of Public Prosecution. Mr. Lungu submits that no prejudice will be occasioned to the state if the court dismisses the said notice of motion for irregularity, as the interest of justice will be served. This is in a case in which Mr. Milingo Lungu has petitioned the government, claiming to have negotiated for his freedom with President Hakainde Hichilema's aides. We have details in this report.
Former Konkola Copper Mines Provisional Liquidator Milingo Lungu has urged the Constitutional Court to dismiss a notice of motion that was filed by the state. Recently, the state filed a notice of motion asking the court to quash his petition on ground that it will be an academic exercise, a waste of taxpayer money if the court proceed hearing the case because the purported immunity claims to have been granted by the former Director of Public Prosecution, Lillian Suni, was revoked on the 22nd of December 2022. However, in his latest response, Mr. Lungu is requesting the court to dismiss the said motion of notice filed by the state for irregularity, submitting that no prejudice will be occasioned to the state, but the interests of justice will be saved. In this case, Mr. Milingo Lungu claims to have negotiated for his freedom with the President Hakainde Hichilema's principal private secretary, legal advisor, the Attorney General, Solicitor General, the Administrator General, and the former Director of Public Prosecution, Lillian Suni. He claims his rearrest in April 2022 on corruption allegation had no legal effect owing to the discontinuance of his criminal proceedings by the latter. Government, on the other side, argues that following the decision by the current Director of Public Prosecution, Gilbert Piri, to revoke the purported immunity agreement on the 22nd of December 2022, which is the subject of the petition and cross-petition in this case, the determination of the issue raised in this matter will amount to an academic exercise, hence the need for the court to dismiss his petition. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security Jack Mwimbu has formed a joint task force comprising the security wings to investigate cases of human trafficking and smuggling following a rise in the number of incidences. Addressing the media on Thursday, Mr. Mwimbu warned that any property such as lodges being used to harbor immigrants will be seized and forfeited to the state. He has further cautioned police officers against aiding the trafficking of humans, stating that investigations have been undertaken on named police officers reportedly involved in the syndicate. More in this report.
World over, human trafficking is an evil that various countries are trying to curb, but this has continued to prove as a challenge due to the diverse network that traffickers have, both at local and international level. Human smuggling has also continued to be on the rise as migrants try to enter various countries by evading border points in search of a better life. Addressing the media Thursday, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security Jack Mwimbu says the discovery of 27 bodies of Ethiopian origin in Lusaka's Ngwerere area on 11 December 2022 Suspected victims of human trafficking was a rude awakening to the ministry, which then decided to conduct various investigations. Mr. Mwimbu says the investigations, which were conducted between 8th and 15th January 2023, were done in Nakonde, Livingstone and Chipata, leading to a total of 10 suspected human traffickers, including 2 masterminds being apprehended, and the rescuing of 27 victims of human trafficking.
Armed with intelligence information, they apprehended one of the masterminds, a male aged 49, an undocumented Tanzanian national married to a Zambian aged 50. The couple was nabbed at their home within Nakonde when 15 Somalis were found at their residence, where they were being prepared to be transported to Livingstone to another suspected Zambian mastermind.
He asked that the ministry has taken other measures to curb the vice, which measures include the deployment of 90 border guards whose advertisement was placed in public media.
We are recruiting 90 border guards, as I indicated that this is a start. As we progress, we'll be recruiting more border guards. As you are aware, there are so many border points in this country which are not being manned, not even by immigration officers. We hope that as we progress, we will increase the number of border guards.
The minister has further issued a stern warning to police officers suspected to be aiding in the trafficking and smuggling of humans. Mr. Mwimbu asked that investigations are still ongoing in the case of the 27 bodies found in Lusaka's Ngorere area, adding that the bodies have not yet been buried as the Ethiopian government has been engaged to determine the way forward. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Ministry of Health has bemoaned the decline in levels of discipline among health practitioners in Zambia. Speaking at the Health Professions Council of Zambia stakeholders meeting in Lusaka on Thursday, Ministry of Health Director of Clinical Care and Diagnostics, Dr. Alex Makupe, says the caliber of health workers being offloaded on the markets leaves much to be desired. Dr. Makupe has cited poor dress codes among health practitioners and a bad attitude toward work as being one of the visible wrongs that now seem normal because discipline levels have declined. We have more in this report.
Health practitioners are a very important caregivers in society, and their role can never go unappreciated. However, professionalism among health workers has been dwindling with time, and the Ministry of Health is disappointed to see the decline in the levels of discipline among health practitioners in Zambia. Ministry Director of Clinical Care and Diagnostic, Dr. Alex Makupe, who spoke at the Health Professional Council of Zambia HPCZ consultative meeting in Lusaka Thursday, says the quality of health professionals being modeled in the country leaves much to be desired.
We've seen, for us end users, a decline in the discipline amongst the cadres that you give us. And it starts from training. And when I run hospitals, I would tell the students that you don't come into the ward with a carnival. You don't come into the ward with dressed in a trousers that straight goes into the femur and the fibula. You know, that kind of dressing. The dressing should give confidence to the patient that now I've met the doctor just by the way one is dressing. Nowadays you see medical students coming in with t-shirts.
And Dr. Makupe also says quality training for health practitioners is very important and says the country is full of theoretical practitioners as opposed to practical professionals, thereby urging trainers to ensure that they offer quality training to health professionals as their work borders on human lives.
It's now that you can be conducting a ward round and having a bedside teaching that the student can pick a phone from the pocket and still proceed to answer in your presence as a consultant, proceed to answer that call. And when we've grown and they're starting to come into theater, even among those that we are training as surgeons, students went in first before the consultant moved in. That the junior doctors, the registrars and senior registrars were already cutting the skin and starting to do the basic things before the consultant comes in to finish off. But nowadays, it's the student who finds you in theatre and asks you, sir, what case is this one? With quality, therefore, means that we bring in a cadre that is always willing to support the patient. It's possible that we can train a cadre who runs away from an ambulance when it's coming.
Meanwhile, HPCZ Acting Chief Executive Officer Faston Ngoma also added his voice.
We will assure you that quality is definitely going to change, and we will provide to the health sector the best quality of healthcare professionals as we can, within what we are able to provide. All the colleges in their applications to start training programs assure us of their capacity to do what is right.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Civil Society for Poverty Reduction CSPR has cited lack of transparency and accountability, limited monitoring mechanisms and uncompetitive bidding as among the critical issues that continue to undermine the effectiveness of public procurement system. CSPR Acting Economic Governance Coordinator Elvis Chipuka regrets that the Financial Intelligence Center report and the Auditor General's report have continued to record irregularities, thus exposing gaps in the Procurement Act. Appearing before the National Assembly of Zambia Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labor Matters, Mr. Chipuka acknowledged the need to align the procurement pricing index to the monthly review of fuel prices. We have details in this report.
It is important to note that the procurement process within vital sectors such as education, health and social sectors plays a vital role with regard to livelihood option for ordinary citizens. Sadly, the Auditor General's annual reports have showed continued misuse of public funds as they disclose issues such as the failure to follow procurement procedures, waste of expenditure and delivered materials and other issues, particularly within these sectors. Thursday, 2nd February 2023, the Civil Society for Poverty Reduction CSPR appeared before the National Assembly of Zambia Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labor Matters, chaired by Lunte Constituency Member of Parliament Mutotwe Kafwaya. CSPR Acting Economic Governance Coordinator Elvis Chipuka made submissions to the public procurement system in Zambia by highlighting the challenges and the recommendations.
By local contractors to participate in public procurement is another challenge which is faced in the public procurement system. Chair, we do appreciate the enhancement of the CDF, which is actually to the benefit of various community members. However, for local contractors to actually participate in public procurement at the local level, there is actually not much capacity in that regard. In addition to that, local contractors actually have to raise credit if they have to participate in a public procurement, in addition to accessing funds from various financial institutions.
Among other key things, Mr. Chipuka suggested the need to enact the Access to Information Bill into law and strengthen monitoring and evaluation in the procurement process.
But if these outputs are not monitored or evaluated, it's difficult to actually tell whether the public procurement is actually for the benefit of the citizens or if the procurement is actually transparent. Chair, we also propose for the enactment of the Access to Information. We do commend the government for the recent enactment of the Public Debt Management Act of 2022 and the Public Finance Management Act of 2018, in addition to the various procurement regulations. However, Chair, we do recommend that government enact the Access to Information law. This will actually enhance effectiveness and transparency in the management of public resources.
The parliamentarians also raised a few questions, especially on the recommendation to decentralize the operations of the Zambia Public Procurement Authority and the need to align the procurement pricing index to the monthly review of fuel prices.
Now, you want the contractors to still refer to the 2021 pricing index. Don't you think it's important that every month the pricing index is also reviewed, at the same time fuel pricing is reviewed?
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
President Hakainde Hichilema has called on the diplomatic corps to work with Zambia in addressing prevailing social and economic challenges. Speaking during the annual greeting of the diplomatic corps at State House, President Hichilema says the current challenges the world is facing cannot be addressed in isolation because they are interconnected. Meanwhile, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Dr. Walid Hassan, has hailed government for its achievements such as upholding the rule of law, providing free education, continuing debt negotiations, and increasing the Constituency Development Fund, CDF. We have details in this report.
President Hakainde Hichilema Thursday morning met members of the diplomatic corps at the annual greeting held at State House with the hope of cementing the ties that Zambia has with other countries. And the head of state, in addressing the members, spoke to the need for countries to work together in addressing the challenges that the world is faced with, adding that the current challenges the world is facing cannot be addressed in isolation because they are interconnected. The president cited challenges such as food insecurity, energy, climate change, peace and security that need to be addressed jointly and find lasting solutions to these challenges.
We have to work together as the world to address the negative effects of climate change as we want to feed ourselves. We still need to be conscious of climate change, and working together we will do better to achieve the Conference of Parties targets, COP targets, COP 26, 27, 20, 25, 26, 20, 27, the COP that's coming in the United Arab Emirates. We must focus on solutions, we must focus on implementing the measures we've agreed and the commitments we've made.
Meanwhile, Mr. Hichilema said the country has made positive strides in restoring the rule of law, governance and democracy.
Very committed. Sometimes legal processes grind slowly, but we're fully committed to continuing reinforcing the restoration of the rule of law as a government. We are continuing to deal with legislation, archaic legislation, inherited, it does not matter. Who legislated, it does not matter. Our duty as a government is to address legislation that affects negatively human rights, liberties, freedoms. And we're very delighted to remind you what you know already, that with pleasure we removed the death penalty from our statute. With pleasure. Something that others before us were shy to do. That was never an issue with us.
And the Dean of Diplomatic Corps, Dr. Walid Hassan, has praised government for the achievements made in the 1 year and 4 months in office.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Zambia has initiated such major transformation in the economy and in people's lives. And we are seeing positive signs on the horizon, although it has not been a long time, only a year and a half. Among many important achievements have been made and at various levels, and other achievements that are being worked on, we mentioned, including but not limited to: first, restoring stability to the economy, reducing the inflation rate, and then working to address the issue of national debt crisis by launching negotiations.
The government is optimistic that such meetings will open more opportunities for Zambia to clinch deals with other countries that will lead to the economic recovery. Sampa Mlenda reporting for Camnet TV in Lusaka.
We'll take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, man. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
On Monday, 16th February 2023, on National Matters, join Pastor Moses Chiluba with his guest, Ambassador Anton Mukwita.
Country which is 750,000 square kilometers, about 2 million of that land in hectareage is arable. We also have one of the biggest resources needed for agriculture. That is 60% of the water in the southern African region is in Zambia.
As they discuss Zambia's 2023 governance issues.
Invite others to participate through phoning on Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp and text messages.
On DSTV channel 274, GoTV channel 98 and Topstar channel 106.
Make a date with us. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for staying on. We continue with the news. Citizens First Party President Harry Kalaba has condemned the recently held press briefing by 7 cabinet ministers in Lusaka meant to denounce tribalism. In a statement made available to Camnet News, Mr. Kalaba says it was irresponsible for 7 ministers from one region to hold a press briefing for the sole purpose of condemning a particular ethnic grouping when in fact their actions were promoting it. Mr. Kalaba says what the ministers should have done instead is name the individuals who were promoting tribalism instead of attacking an entire ethnic grouping. He says it does not have to take people coming from the northern region to talk about tribalism when those who are reported as uttering tribal remarks are well known. Mr. Kalaba has since urged the police to summon Minister of Youth and Sports Elvis Nkandu for inciting hate against one ethnic grouping. The government has awarded 14,121 scholarships to deserving students, covering both first years and those returning to TVET colleges. Technology and Science Minister Felix Mutati said the ministry seeks to increase access to training for the Zambian population in order to increase skills access and foster vocational as well as entrepreneurial development across the country. Mr. Mutati has indicated that the 14,121 recipients of government scholarships are expected to report to their respective institutions for registration and the commencement of training. Here is a report.
Everyone, regardless of their physical or financial state, has the right to education. It is, however, unfortunate that the marginalized in the country had no access to an education due to either lack of finances, disabilities, or being orphaned. But over the years, the Ministry of Science and Technology, through the National Technical Education, Vocation and Entrepreneurship Training TVET policy, has made a deliberate effort to ensure that everyone is included in the education sector. The Minister of Science and Technology, Felix Mutati, Thursday, February 2nd, announced the award of the 2023 bursary, which will cater for 14,121 beneficiaries, with 5,861 being first-year students, while 8,260 are returning students. Mr. Mtati also announced the allocations of 34,783,311 for infrastructure development of Sesheke Trades Training Institute, 60,177,303 for Mporokoso Trades, and 783,311 for Lundazi Trades in order to improve skills and foster vocational and entrepreneurship development in all parts of the country.
Our ministry is very much focused on promoting equity and promoting inclusiveness. And the reason we are focused on this is to deliver on a core mandate that we have got, delivering skills that will drive jobs, that will drive entrepreneurship, that will be able to capture those of our youths who don't have opportunity. And that is why we emphasize that the focus of the bursary will be on vulnerable youths. It will focus on disabled. It will also focus on our rural youths. This will be in addition from those youths that are supported by CDF, which are in their thousands. So the transformation is much, much larger.
Meanwhile, Ministry of Science and Technology Permanent Secretary Brilliant Habenzu has explained that in order to ensure that the applicants are truly vulnerable and not posing to be, the ministry is working keenly with social welfare and community development.
So that's why now we engage the Ministry of Economic Development to actually come in there. It is actually a requirement. They have to attach them. So, in fact, one is an orphan, maybe one is double orphan. There are those reports that will come in there, and it actually forms part of a very significant requirement.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Thank you, Beatrice, for that report. Now, the Central Bank of Zambia, BOWS, has adjusted the minimum statutory ratio on both local and foreign currency deposits by 2.5 percentage points as of Monday, February 3rd, 2023, in an effort to address the depreciation of the Zambian kwacha, which has intensified. The statutory rate has been adjusted upward from 9% to 11.5%, and the increment will also apply to government deposits and VOWS account deposits. This is contained in a memo dated February 1st, 2023, addressed to all heads of commercial banks and signed by BOWS Deputy Governor Francis Chipimo, seen by Camnet Television. And Mr. Chipimo says the foreign exchange market has come under sustained depreciation pressure despite the central bank support for the market through sales of forex proceeds, mostly from mining companies. He says the market has been characterized by weak forex supply amidst strong demand by market players for various purposes, including critical imports of fuel, medicines, and agriculture inputs. The Deputy Governor says the trend, if unaddressed, has the potential to undermine the emerging stable microeconomic environment. The Zambia Union for All Persons with Disabilities in Livingstone says the special education schools in the school have continued lagging behind in comparison to mainstream schools when it comes to stationery. In an interview, ZAUPD President Pascal Mlenga says this means that parents are asked to buy stationery such as ream of paper for braille writing, which costs 10 times more than the ordinary one. He notes that this has left some pupils unable to fully enjoy the free education policy, which calls for immediate interventions.
We are calling the Minister of General Education, including the current President of our Zambian nation, Mr. HH, to take keen interest in the free education which persons with disability children are going through. All these people who have got problem with disability in boarding schools, they are paying instead of the government to support their education. Apart from that, we have noticed that a lot of materials that persons with disabilities are using are too expensive A ream of paper is worth 1,200, and yet for our friends with eyes, it's costing 100 plus kwacha. Therefore, we are calling upon Mr. President to become very serious and put key interest in the issues that we are facing. Even the issue of governance, we have been left behind. The CDF, we are not considered that we can contribute in this country. Mr. President, together with all opposition political parties and the ruling party, can you stand up and do something that can make us to be comfortable? Because our votes also...
We take our last set of commercials. When we get back, we have the rest of the stories.
Good news, good news. The rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation wealth is the way to go. Has grafted avocado plants, fruiting within 2 to 3 years, for sale at only 90 kwacha each. And ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. In our international news. The leaders of Somalia and neighboring countries vowed at a summit on Wednesday to make the final push against AL-SHABAAB as a wide-ranging offensive against the militants gathered pace. Kenya's William Ruto, Djibouti's Ismail Omar Guelleh, and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed attended the summit hosted by Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in the capital, Mogadishu. They discussed a coordinated military offensive against the Al-Qaeda-linked group, which has been waging on insurgency in the troubled Horn of African nation for more than 15 years. Meanwhile, citizens gathered outside the Moroccan parliament in Rabat on Wednesday to show their support for the protest, Morocco's normalization of ties with Israel, in a show of support to Palestine. The demonstrations began Saturday in several cities of the country, 2 years after the resumption of diplomatic relations between Morocco and Israel. Here's a roundup of international news.
Leaders of Somalia and neighboring countries vowed at a summit on Wednesday to make the final push against Al-Shabaab as a wide-ranging offensive against the militants gathers pace. Kenya's William Ruto, Djibouti's Ismail Omar Guelleh, and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed attended the summit hosted by Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in the capital Mogadishu. They discussed a coordinated military offensive against the group, which has been waging an insurgency against the federal government for more than 15 years. In recent months, the Somali army and local clan militias have retaken chunks of territory from the militants. But the rebels have struck back numerous times, including in fortified areas in the capital Mogadishu.
Moroccans gathered outside the parliament in Rabat on Wednesday to protest Morocco's normalization of ties with Israel, formalized in December 2022 with the help of the US government. We are here today to protest crimes perpetrated against Palestinians, including the killings that took place in Jenin recently, resulting in the death of 10 martyrs. We're here to condemn once again the creeping normalization of the Moroccan regime with the Zionist state. This normalization is making us lose our national sovereignty.
Cette normalisation qui est en train de nous faire perdre notre souveraineté nationale.
The demonstrations began Saturday in several cities of the country, 2 years after the resumption of diplomatic relations between Morocco and Israel.
That's when our international news. Time now for sports. The Zambia under-20 men's national team has arrived in Abuja ahead of Friday's international friendly match with Nigeria as part of preparations for the Egypt 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Coach Chisimbewo's squad arrived in Abuja at 11:40 hours aboard Ethiopian Airlines. Zambia will proceed to Dakar for another friendly match to be played in February 7th against Senegal. The team will then head to Egypt for a camp proceeding tournament. Zambia is in Group C alongside Tunisia, Gambia and Benin. And on that sporting item, we come to the end of the main news on Camnet TV. Just now, a recap of the headlines once again. Government urged to resolve fuel shortages. BOWMAN LUSAMBO cries foul over the establishment of fast-track courts. Police officers involved in human trafficking and smuggling cautioned. In our international headlines, Somalia summit vows final push against AL-SHABAAB. And finally, in sports, Zambia under-20 national team arrives in Abuja to kickstart West African assignment. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day coming from Deuteronomy 15 verse 7 to 8. If there is a poor man among your brothers in any of the towns of the land that the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted towards your poor brother. Rather, be open-handed and freely lend him whatever he needs. Thank you so much for watching. On behalf of the entire production and news crew, my name is Louisiana Lupumbwe. Bye-bye. God bless.